build something that makes people go, "Whoa." Problem is, you'll be flying blind. You build product on one end, results come out the other, but in between is a massive black hole. And that's why we built Amplitude. It gives you a whole new understanding of customer behavior, predicts outcomes, and adapts experiences to drive world-changing results. You want to change the world? Now you can.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. It's great to have you here. Welcome if you're just joining us. If you're running a little bit late, it's great to have you here. I'll just remind you that you can get involved in the community. Just go to productledalliance.com and you'll be able to jump off there from a number of resources. We've got loads of content there, lots of free stuff. There's a free Slack community with 7,500 members and growing. And we do also have our paid membership options, so do be sure to check those out as well. Now, we are going to jump straight in to another fantastic session, which is going to be brought to you. The speaker is Franziska Defletson, and Franziska is going to be talking about how product and marketing teams can best work together in order to turbocharge their growth. And I'm sure that's something that we're all going to be very interested in. So I'll hand straight over to her.
Hi, everyone. My name is Franziska, and I work at Amplitude as their head of growth. I'm here to talk to you about how product and marketing teams can best work together to drive growth. Exciting topic, I hope, for everyone. What I will be covering today is that I will share a little bit more about me so you know who's talking. I'll talk a little bit about growth so we're all on the same page about what that means, especially when it comes to product-led growth. Then I'll dive into how metrics can drive alignment across teams. I'll share some of the key metrics we use at Amplitude to drive this alignment across our product teams and marketing teams. And then I will dive into some real-life examples of things that me and my team and our product team have been working together on to drive growth. So hopefully some exciting topics for you all. I'm going to go ahead and dive in. So a little bit about me. I actually started my career in venture capital, spent about 4 years in a few different funds in Europe and in the US. And then I sort of randomly stumbled into joining Snowplow Analytics. They're a data infrastructure company as their first marketing leader. And I essentially build the marketing function there from scratch. They had very little when I started, and we were about 7 or 8 people when I left. So learned a ton about marketing across all the different functions, and then specialized more on the demand gen or growth marketing side. Then I went on to join Tivoli, which is also a data company, and much earlier stage, heading up growth, first non-technical hire. So really got my hands dirty there. We went from 0 to 1 together. And then after a little less than a year, we actually got snapped up by Amplitude. So we got acquired, which was an interesting thing to go through. And at Amplitude, I've now been here for about 1.5 years, and I've been wearing a few different hats. So I've actually been a PM on the product side. I worked as director of product-led growth on the product side as well. And then most recently now, I head up our growth marketing function at Amplitude, where we cover everything from acquisition to retention to monetization. So we manage all our paid and organic channels to drive users into the product. We care about activating and maintaining them. And then we also work on how we monetize our user base on top of our free plan. So lots of relevance to product-led growth and growth in general. On the side, when I'm not working at Amplitude, I also like to advise early stage startups, specifically in the dev or infra space. So I'm working currently with 4 or so companies doing that, keeping my finger on the pulse on what's going on in the early stages of the startup journey, which is always exciting. So before we dive in, I want to make sure we're on the same page when we talk about what growth is. And I've actually just taken a really good definition that is actually Elena Vernes. I'm lucky to be working with her currently at Amplitude. We work closely together in all things growth. But this is super important to make sure that we're aligned. We're talking about the same things here. Essentially, what growth is, it's product distribution through acquisition, retention, and monetization levers to create a predictable, sustainable, defensible system. And what I want to touch upon a little bit is the distribution component. I'll talk about some of the other components as well, but one thing that has changed and has changed recently and has always been changing is how we distribute products. I was maybe not working as much in the 1980s, but we've gone from a very sales-led motion, fancy steak dinners, on-prem solutions that took months to implement, to this second era of marketing-led growth, inbound marketing, software in the cloud, still sort of, no lots of upfront sales and marketing to convince the user to buy this product, to where we are currently, which OpenView frames as the end user era, right? Where we want to try the product before we buy it. We want to see value from the product before we buy it. And we're expecting to be able to do that today, right? We want to sign up, test it out. Does it work for me? And the end user now has a lot more power than they did in the past, right? They were just being told what product that the exec or the CIO was buying for them. Today, it's really more of a bottoms-up buying process where users try and test products. They tell their manager which tool they want to go with, and that's how that works. So that also changes how the teams come together and work across this new customer journey. There's a lot going on this slide, but in the past, marketing did the marketing, sales did the selling, and then product did the product at the end, right? It was marketing, sales, product, or maybe it was just sales and product, or marketing and product. But now we're in this world where marketing, sales, and product teams, they overlap, right? We have this whole phase where the user lands on the website, they sign up for a free version of the product or a trial. And during that time, there's overlap between what the marketing team can do to activate, convert, what the sales team can do, and what the product team can do. So alignment and collaboration across these functions is more important than ever. So the final thing I want to talk about a little bit, because it's really important, is what does that mean for product-led growth? So product-led growth is this crazy buzzwords. Everyone is talking about it, and it's the only way to make it in the world of SaaS right now, right? You hear it all the time, and I think there's a ton of confusion out there about what it actually means, right? How does the product drive growth? What are we talking about? And so for me, what is really helpful is to think about it across the customer journey. So is the product driving growth on the acquisition side? Is the product driving growth on the retention side? So that includes activation and engagement. And is the product able to drive growth? Is that a lever in the monetization process? So what I mean by that, I'll share a few examples so it's a little bit more obvious. So a company like Calendly, right? They have a product-led motion across each of these stages in the journey. You probably all familiar, right? When you sign when someone sends you a Calendly link and you use it for the first time, there's a prompt for you to go and set up your account for yourself right when you have scheduled your first call. And so that's a great loop using the product to acquire additional new users. So that's a product-led acquisition loop. Calendly is lucky because that's not something that all products have out there. And I think that's a really important distinction to make here, because when we talk about product-led growth, it's not the product necessarily driving acquisition, right? It can be kind of hard depending on your product. Continuing with the Calendly example, they have a product-led activation journey. It's super easy to get started. They have habit loops built into the product to continue to have you come back and schedule more meetings. And they have the ability to monetize you without any human intervention, right? They have self-serve options for people to just put down a credit card and get started. So another example is Amplitude. So we don't have any product-led acquisition loops. We have product-led acquisition loops for existing accounts and users where we want to invite more users into an existing account. But right now, at least the way it currently is, we don't have any way for our product to drive new users into the product. And so we rely on marketing loops like paid and organic to drive users into our product in the first place. And that's what I spend a lot of time on today. On the retention side, so how we activate these users and engage them over time, we're largely product-led today, at least for our free plan. When we're talking about our paid plans, we actually vary sales and marketing led on that front. But looking at our free plan, if you want to get started for free, we have help center and onboarding embedded into the product experience, and that's how we get you to activate and how we get you to come back. On the monetization side, we're pretty sales led today. If you want to pay for Amplitude, if you want to upgrade, the only way is to talk to a sales representative and go through that sales process. So we're largely sales led on the monetization side. I will dive into how we are doing a lot more on all these in a little bit, but hopefully this helps frame what we mean by product-led growth. As a last example, not too much here, just wanted another example here, a company like Salesforce, right? They're pretty sales and marketing led across acquisition, retention, and monetization, and are not really leading with the product or having the product do the heavy lifting for them. They rely on a lot of humans in the loop and marketing driven activities. So one thing that I get asked all the time is how you should structure your growth teams for success. And there are so many ways that you can do that. You can have a cross-functional setup, you can have embedded teams, or you can have a fully autonomous growth function like what I have on this slide, where we have a VP or some CGO and that has head of growth marketing and head of product growth reporting into them and owning the growth function end to end. When that's the case, usually the VP growth is probably responsible for self-serve revenue, and that's the key metric that they're held accountable for. That's a good model. I've seen it work in a number of companies, an example being Postman. At Amplitude, it's different. We're a cross-functional team. As the head of growth marketing, I report into our VP marketing and CMO, so I report up the marketing ladder. And then I have my counterparts over in product growth that report into our CPO and up the product chain. So we're actually cross-functional, and so we meet all the time. And I'll talk a little bit more how we line our teams in just a second. But we are in theory not part of the same team, but we still act as one team, and this is what matters. And so in my mind, you can spend a lot of time configuring a team, figuring out how to set up the org structure, who to report into who. I don't think that matters as much as long as you act as one team. And that's where the next part comes in. So how do you do that? So in my mind, it's all about defining and aligning on your metrics across the customer journey and then collaborating on those together. So I will give you the example of Amplitude again. It's an easy example for me because that's what I live and breathe every day. So across the product growth team and the growth marketing team, we're really aligned across these 3 metrics. There are more metrics we care about. There's obviously a lot more that I care about from a growth marketing perspective, and there's a lot more metrics that the product growth team care about as well. But as a team, as a cross-functional team, we've come together and aligned around these 3 core metrics. So one is on the acquisition side, being new relevant signups. So we care deeply about getting new users into the product, obviously, and that's where I spend a lot of my time through organic, paid, optimizing our website, getting all those channels in order so we drive high quality traffic into our product. On the retention side, our North Star there is weekly consuming orgs. And we also have a few minor or adjacent metrics here around our setup moment. So can someone connect a data source, activation, and does someone reach an aha moment, also part of activation? So those are other metrics inside that weekly consuming org metric that we really care about, and that the product growth team is spending a lot of time and effort towards moving. And me and my team in growth marketing, we're spending a lot of time helping out with that metric. And I'll talk a little bit about what we do there later down the line. On the last one, the monetization metric we all aligned around is free to paid conversion rate. As I mentioned in the beginning, Amplitude has a free plan. And so we care a lot about currently at least moving the needle on getting more of our free accounts and users to pay for using Amplitude. And so again, both the growth marketing team and the product growth team are working together. Even the sales team here in this case, because they care deeply about that metric as well, which is great. We come together here to increase that together as a team. So once you have your metrics and you start tracking them, of course, this is a slightly obscured version of our activation funnel chart in Amplitude. And you can see here by starting to map that out, we as a team can come together and chat about what the biggest opportunities are for us. And in this case, it's pretty obvious, right? There's a setup moment where we see a huge drop in conversion rate, right? Setting up Amplitude can be extremely hard. And so how we work generally and how we align every quarter is that we find these areas of opportunity, and then we come together to decide what we want to do to improve them. And I will dive into the specific one in just a second. Before that, though, I want to touch on something here as well. When teams come together and share metrics, there's a lot less room for confusion and a lot less room for misalignment and working against each other, if you will. Again, this is kind of obscure Amplitude charts, but you may or may not find this scenario familiar. On the marketing side, we're testing new channels. We're driving a lot of traffic from, in this case, it was YouTube that saw a big bump in the last few days. And we're just testing things, right? We want to see what can drive users into the product and where do we get the highest numbers, the lowest cost per lead. And we really found out that YouTube can drive this traffic to our website. But then on the other hand, maybe the setup conversion rate is going down. And so if we didn't care about setup conversion rate, aha moment conversion rate, or weekly consuming orgs, we would just be optimizing for web traffic and new signups. While the product growth team would be, hey, what is going down? Why is our conversion rate declining, and what is changing? And so by having the same metrics, we would probably switch off YouTube very soon if we continue to see that our setup conversion rate would decline, which would tell us potentially that this would be not the best quality traffic and we should try something else, or maybe direct these users from YouTube to something else than our product in the first place. So this is actually a real life example from Amplitude where we came together and we quickly understood what was going on and what we had to change, and how different initiatives affect our metrics, our shared metrics in different ways. So want to dive into a few examples from Amplitude. And one of them is related to our ongoing bets to improve that activation rate and specifically that setup moment. And what I think is interesting here is that this does not only involve the product and the product team. And it actually only doesn't even only involve the marketing team either. We also include sales here. And so we all try to come together around these shared metrics. And so in this case, what we care about is moving the needle and increasing the conversion rate on this setup moment. And so some of the things we tried, and I can share some of these today and share some learnings. One thing was actually to throw humans in the loop. We had an assumption that if we reached out to users when they just got started, we could help them during that setup moment and answer any technical questions that they would have. It's not super easy to set up Amplitude if you're not technical enough or if you don't have the right permissions. Sometimes you get errors. Sometimes there's things that aren't clear. And so we thought that we could actually move the needle on activation if we tested sending people in to help and help with that sort of complicated moment. So that was a huge initiative we did. And we actually didn't see a lot of improvement from it, which was surprising and very interesting for us. So great learning for us to come together as a team and noodle on and figure out. But one initiative that we worked on across actually sales, marketing, and product. Another thing we worked on was to add an intent question into our onboarding, which means that we could customize the user journey much better when you sign up for Amplitude. So by adding that intent, we could guide you much better in the product through product onboarding, but also with our onboarding nurture programs. So growth marketing, in our case, we're responsible for all the email communications that you receive once you sign up for Amplitude. And so by adding that intent question, we could get more specific with what we would follow up with you on and tell you about, and what documentation we would send, what videos we would send, so on and so forth. We also actually got more sales opportunities out of this because we actually found that some people that ended up in the product were not quite ready to self-serve and weren't actually looking for self-serve. And so we were also able to direct some of that traffic out of the product into our demo experience and then into the hands of sales for them to take a more sales-led approach and guide them through the whole journey. So that was a huge cross-functional effort as well that led to some minor improvements in activation rate. I'm not gonna lie here and say it was a huge improvement, but at least we have a much better user journey now in the product and out of the product. Other things that we're working on specifically on the product side is to make just the setup moment a lot easier by really building out more features and functionalities around connecting data sources. So as you can see, not just product features and functionality, not just marketing comms, not just sales following up. It's really a mix of us three teams coming together with the product front and center. The other area we've been working a lot on together is on the monetization side. So how can we improve the free to paid conversion rate from our free plan to our paid offerings? In the current environment where we have a sales-led model where sales has to come in at some point and take you through a sales process and sign you up for one of our plans. So one of the big things we came together with the product team around and build a lot of stuff around was actually getting product usage data into the hands of our sales teams. So maybe that's surprising that we didn't have that in the past, being a product data company. But we actually started building out dashboards in Amplitude where our sales reps could go in, look at their accounts, and look at the product usage that they were having currently in Amplitude, like what features they were using, how many users they had, how much event volume, just giving way more visibility for our sales team. And so the sales team could have the right conversations about the current use of Amplitude and any additional use cases that we would think are beneficial to a company based on the current usage of Amplitude. So that was a great win for us, and sales has been super excited about this improved visibility. We're currently working on actually moving some of those dashboards into Salesforce, so it becomes more of a part of their day-to-day. The other thing that we worked on together was our product qualified account score, so PQA model. We actually built the first version of this model with our data science team. We're lucky to have one. If you don't have one, don't worry. There are tools out there that can help you, or you can do something simple. It doesn't have to be fancy to get you started. And our model was pretty simple as well. Just looked at accounts that exhibited similar behavior to accounts that are already on one of our paid plans. And so that gave the company a score, and we surfaced that to our sales team as well, so they could prioritize their accounts with the highest scores. And we actually have some extremely exciting results from that pilot already. We actually saw a 10x increase in from contact to opportunity created. So hugely impressive, at least in the world of Amplitude, with a mix of using those dashboards and the product usage data, and just being able to understand which accounts are the ones to go after, so sales can prioritize them. Another thing that we've been working on is creating more awareness in the product of our free plans. For our paid plans. So sales is doing a great job at Amplitude selling our paid offerings. And so the product can step up and do some of that work for them, making us more efficient and getting us higher up that free to paid conversion rate. And so one of the things that we've been doing is trialing some of our most popular paid features on the customers on our free plan. So right now we're running a trial of our one of our favorite features cohorts, and we've also been trialing out giving away the growth plan for 30 days so users can start experience some of that value before buying. So very early days there, but some good engagement results so far, and we're doing a lot of in-product and out-of-product work to really generate more awareness of our most popular features. So what I want to leave you with is the fact that the product-led growth is about putting the product forward and front and center, and investing in features and functionality that can drive growth, that can drive adoption, that can drive monetization. But it's not a product only or product team only endeavor, right? As you just heard from me, marketing, my team, is heavily involved at every stage of this customer journey, from acquisition to retention to monetization. And even our sales team is stepping in across acquisition, retention, and monetization. So what is framed as the product selling itself, or product is driving acquisition, maybe that's something you're lucky to have in your product. But if you're not, then it's really a team effort, having the whole company align around these key metrics and then work together to improve them together. I hope this was useful. I hope you learned a little bit, and I hope the examples resonated with some of you. Any questions or want to have a chat about product-led growth, growth marketing, or Amplitude, you can find me on LinkedIn. and just reach out and say hi. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Francisca. And we have dropped Francisca's LinkedIn in the chat there, so do just click on that link. It's pinned to the top if you wanted to connect and ask any questions. Unfortunately, we are at time, so we don't have any time for questions right now, but Francisca, as she says, is more than happy to take those through LinkedIn. So we are going to go on to our next session shortly, which will be a panel discussion. So you'll be able to go back to the agenda and join from there, and we'll be kicking off in about 15 minutes or so. So we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks very much.